The New York Rangers have a clear need that they definitely need to address at some point, ideally before the NHL trade deadline in 2025, and that is going out there and acquiring a top four or maybe even top pairing caliber defenseman to make a big impact on this Rangers team. They need someone ideally who can move the puck, play physical, be a tough, gritty player, maybe even be able to fight a bit there as well, but also, ideally be a decent kind of guy offensively and just be an all-around reliable defensive defenseman who can ideally move the puck as well. We need some kind of puck movement back there as well. Obviously, a guy like Ryan Lindgren, for example, is not the best at that. So going out there, getting a tough, gritty guy who can hit, play physical, block shots, move the puck, play defensively, and offensively would be ideal, but at least getting a reliable defensive defenseman who can kind of move the puck and play a little bit physically, at least, is kind of the bare minimums that we need to address on this New York Rangers team. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at two defensemen from the exact same team that should be and probably will be targets for the Rangers, and that is David Savard and Mike Matheson of the Montreal Canadiens. As the Habs are once again looking like sellers, these two players could very well end up getting traded at this year's NHL trade deadline. Now, David Savard is a right-handed defenseman, and Mike is a left-handed defenseman there. So you have a righty, a lefty, and Mike is a bit more of the offensive kind of guy, whereas Savard is a bit more the defensive guy and a little more physical. So you kind of got, both sides there. The more offensive kind of guy, maybe a bit better puck mover, but a little less physical, and the better defensive guy who's a tougher, grittier kind of guy, but still a decent puck mover in David Savard. Doesn't bring as much offensively, but still has a bit of offense to his game. So both these guys are pretty, good all-around defensemen, offensively, defensively, puck moving, and physically, but David Savard is definitely more the kind of defensive guy, a bit tougher, unlike Mike, who's more the offensive kind of guy, a better puck mover. So both those guys, have they're good and they're bad about their games, but I do think both these guys, could be great fits on this New York Rangers team and definitely would help fill some of the needs that this team definitely does have on the defensive side of things there. So both these guys would be great targets, and I definitely think, will more than likely end up possibly being rumored into possibly trading for one of these guys, because I think these guys are definitely players who need to be looked at by the Rangers, and hopefully we could see a move ideally before the actual trade deadline hits. I mean, obviously, as soon as possible would be ideal, but, there's a good chance that we don't see a trade happen until, a week or so at least around the trade deadline. But either way here, Savard is a player who's currently on an expiring contract and doesn't make a ton of money, so he could very well end up being a guy who does get moved, and I think he probably will get moved, whereas Mike Matheson does have another season left after this one under contract and currently does wear an A on his jersey, assistant captain, so that makes things a little tougher to trade for Mike, as I think he might be a guy who the Habs look to kind of hold on to there and try and keep around for a bit as they try and get out of the rebuild and try and contend for a playoff spot, although I don't think it's going to happen this season. In the future, they're going to be a team wanting to kind of get this young core of players that they have in the prospects and picks that they have kind of into the playoffs there, because they have a pretty bright future, but it's about kind of making the playoffs now, getting those young players experience, which they obviously haven't done so for a very long time now. So the Habs very well might keep Mike Matheson, but Savard is definitely a guy who I am like 95% sure will get traded away. Now, Mike is a little less, but still could end up getting traded away if the right deal does come across, one of the former Rangers management in Jeff Gorton. So, if he obviously likes a deal, maybe something does get done there between the Rangers and Habs. Now, maybe that makes things a little more interesting on whether a deal would actually get done there with, Gorton being one of those guys in the front office. But either way, I think this could be a good fit for both sides, as we do have, some, obviously most of our picks for the most part there, some good prospects, and some decent NHL guys who maybe they would be a little interested in as well. So starting off here with the right-handed defenseman, David Savard, I think he is a true top four caliber guy, probably a, true kind of second pairing kind of guy, but I think would be a really great fit on this team. Now, he is right-handed, so having Foxy, Schneider, and Trouba, that makes things a little more difficult there. But, Schneider has played this season even on the left side and has done so in the past as well. So maybe he goes over to the left there, kind of kicks out Zach Jones, which I know some Rangers fans wouldn't be kind of thrilled with, but I just don't see them really kind of fully kind of full-time, health scratching kind of guys like Keandre Miller and Ryan Lindgren over someone like Zach Jones, which I could be wrong about, but I think that's kind of what would happen. Whether I agree with that or not, that's probably what would happen there. But David Savard would definitely be an interesting guy and someone who I would like to see this team target. He's 6'1", 235 pounds, plays a pretty good, kind of tough, gritty, physical game. Good defensively, like really solid, reliable defenseman. He does have a pretty decent offensive game to him as well for a guy of his kind of play style. So I think that's kind of nice there as well. He's not just going to be a kind of nothing player offensively. He can contribute there a bit. Definitely is a pretty solid puck mover as well, which is a need for this team. And he also has won a Stanley Cup, which he did so back in 2021 with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was a big part, on that run there, on the road to the winning their cup there. So he's won a cup before in the past, which is nice there. He's a veteran guy. He has played a total of 57 games before in the playoffs, so has some good experience there, won that cup, and is just an all-around really solid guy. Good offensively, defensively, definitely is where he kind of thrives at, but can contribute offensively there. Puck moving wise, good. Physically good. He's a tough, gritty player. Definitely someone who fills a lot of the needs that this team kind of has for a new defenseman that we'd be looking to possibly trade for around the deadline. And he also does have a $3.5 million contract for just the rest of this season, which definitely makes him very attainable. Even if they retain 50%, that would still leave a ton of cap space available for the Rangers to go out there and make some other moves, possibly getting another defenseman as well. Now taking a look, though, at his stats, kind of what he's done so far this season with the Habs, he has 18 games played, 4 points, so not doing crazy offensively this season, but in the past couple seasons has done pretty solid. He does have a total of 48 block shots and 17 hits so far in 18 games played. Not bad at all. So I think in general, he's not having the best season he's had over his career so far. That's for sure this season, but could be a guy who doesn't go for an insane amount of, value, whatever, whether it's picks or prospects or decent guys in the NHL roster right now on the kind of the back end of things. He would be a guy who would be fairly attainable, definitely a lot cheaper than guys like Marcus Pettersson and Rasmus Anderson, who I talked about in the video on Friday, and also a guy like Mike Matheson. He'd definitely be cheaper than those guys, in my opinion, so could be a nice kind of fairly cheap candidate. He's won a cup there, has a lot of experience, and definitely is a very talented player. And now for Mike Matheson, who I do think is a better defenseman than David Savard, but he'll cost a lot more on the trade market, whether it is draft picks and or prospects, whatever it is. He will definitely cost a lot more, as he does have another season after this one under contract, and he is someone who very well could end up, staying on the Habs there as they look to get out of the rebuild. He is someone who could help them with that, but I think Mike is a great top 4 caliber guy, and at moments is kind of playing like a top pairing kind of guy on the Habs, who are not really great. They're obviously not a great team right now, but the last 3 seasons he has been playing, ice time wise, like a top pairing defenseman, as this season so far averaging about 24 minutes per night. Last season averaging 25 minutes and 33 seconds. And then the season before that, back in 2022, 23, ended up averaging 24 minutes and 27 seconds. So he is someone who eats up a lot of ice time there, has been playing, ice time wise, like a top pairing kind of guy. And at moments has kind of, shown flashes of that. But I think it'd be just a phenomenal kind of second pairing guy on this team and really could have a massive impact. Now, maybe if we're acquiring him, is Keandre Miller going the other way and he's being kind of the main value going the other way there, I would not be against that at all. I think if you can go out there and trade Keandre plus an asset or two on top of that, which it probably would cost that, that might not be the worst trade ever. Let me know in the comment section down below. Would you do Keandre Miller plus, let's say, maybe a conditional third round pick, where if we get to the, let's say, conference finals, it becomes a second, or if we win the cup, it becomes a first? I don't know exactly what the trade would be and how much value, they'd value Keandre Miller and how much the Rangers want to give up for Mike. But let me know in the comment section down below, what are your thoughts on the main kind of player going the way for Mike being Keandre Miller? So let me know your thoughts on that. But carrying on though, Mike is a great, left-handed shot guy, 6'2", 196 pounds, pretty physical defenseman, not overly physical, or as physical as a guy like David Savard, but quite physical, blocks a ton of shots there, which is quite nice. And, is just a really great offensive defenseman, really good puck mover, which, is a big thing that this team needs to add there as well. A defenseman who can really move the puck. He can definitely do that, contribute offensively, and also is a pretty good defensive guy as well. I mean, not, I would say, an elite kind of shutdown guy, but definitely is, I would say, just good defensive defenseman as well. Really good all-around kind of guy, and definitely would be a player who could have a great impact on this team. Also, taking a look at the stats here, he does have 19 games played, 1 goal, 12 assists, 13 total points. He's a -7, and the one kind of negative is he does have, only 6 even strength points out of his 13 so far this season. So most of his points are coming on the power play, which isn't ideal for the Rangers as he wouldn't get much power play time here, but he is a guy who's still, good defensively as well. So it's not like he's going to be some kind of liability now that he can't produce offensively and isn't going to bring much to the team. He'll still be a solid player, still can produce at even strength. I mean, 6 points in 19 games played for defenseman isn't the worst thing in the world at even strength there, but obviously isn't going to contribute a ton offensively at even strength, but still can be a very solid puck mover, which is a big need for this team as well. He also has 48 block shots so far this season, 7 hits, not bad at all. 20 takeaways, 18 giveaways, just a really solid kind of all-round defenseman. He's good offensively, good defensively, good puck mover, and I do think would be a great fit on this team. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, definitely hit that like and subscribe button for a ton more New York Rangers content, as well as don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on the Rangers possibly trading for Mike Matheson or David Savard, and also comment down below kind of your other kind of trade targets that you wanted to see. I made a video the other day talking about Marcus Pettersson and Rasmus Andersson. Obviously, these are some very early kind of trade candidates here and trade targets for the Rangers, but definitely keep an eye on some of these players as I definitely think we're going to be looking to possibly trade for a defenseman at this year's deadline. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one. See ya.